Ross, before we get to the NFL draft, we were just talking about music because we have new theme music coming in and out of our breaks. Do you have any musical talent at all?
What? What's the question?
It's so funny that you say that. So a couple things, all right? Number one, I definitely don't know anything about jazz.
Okay.
And slap bass, that means nothing to me whatsoever. And it's actually kind of funny because my wife and I, send my daughters, they're 10 and 8. We send them to some private school because my wife wants them to, blah, 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 right? But they both, can play the violin. They both can play the piano. I think in 5th grade at my public school, I tried the trombone for 2 weeks because I thought it looked awesome. I have no musical talent whatsoever. That said, I love music. I sing along to every song on the radio, but I've noticed I don't really know the words. That song, Brown Eyed Girl? At the start of it, they go, "Hey, where do we go?" You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. That's Jimmy Buffett, right?
I was on a boat 10 years ago with my wife and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law in a river in Pennsylvania, and that song came on, and I was like, "Oh, I love this song. Hey, Rodrigo." And my sister-in-law said, "Wait, what did you just say?" I said, "Hey, Rodrigo." She's like, "It's not Hey, Rodrigo. It's Hey, where did we go?" So I have a strong tendency to really like music, to really be open about singing it, but not actually knowing the actual words.
That's a great story. And you know what? You're not alone. I think everyone's been in that situation where they think they know a song and they totally butcher the lyrics. But you mentioned the trombone. So if we had to give the sad trombone to one team last night, the one team who didn't get it right, what was the most head-scratching pick in your view?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't really understand what the Saints are doing. Think about how much they traded to get the 16th pick from the Eagles. Remember, they traded this year's 3rd rounder, next year's 1st rounder, and a 2nd rounder in 2024 to get the 16th pick from the Eagles. Then they trade last night a 3rd rounder and a 4th rounder to move up with the Commanders, which is still so weird to say, but the Commanders to get the 11th pick to take Chris Olave? I mean, look, I think Chris Olave is a nice player. I have nothing wrong with Chris Olave. But in what galaxy are we giving up 5 premium picks for Chris Olave? And by the way, the Commanders at 16, where the Saints were going to pick, they just took Jahan Dotson from Penn State. And I live an hour from Penn State. I've watched every snap Jahan Dotson took. He's a stud. I think he's very comparable to Olave. So I really don't understand the Saints' logic at all.
Yeah. All right. So burning question for me. I had to listen to that song. I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. After the Titans got rid of A.J. Brown, please talk me off this ledge. Tell me why the Titans are not rebuilding. Because honestly, I hate this move for the Titans.
Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with it. And by the way, I'm here in a hotel room in Philly. I'm looking at Lincoln Financial Field right now. Because I do the Eagles preseason games, I also do the draft for them. So anybody listening that's in the draft of the Eagles, you can watch me on PhiladelphiaEagles.com tonight. So I understand where you're coming from. And obviously, Eagles fans are thrilled. Here's the logic. He just got a new contract for $25 million a year. And I think the Titans love A.J. Brown, but feel like that is too rich for their blood, that they don't want to pay a receiver that much money. And everybody during the pre-draft process compared Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown.
Oh, so come on. No.
I think the Titans feel like they are getting the next A.J. Brown for much, much cheaper than what the actual A.J. Brown is costing. So clearly, the Eagles don't want to take the chance that Treylon Burks isn't really the next A.J. Brown. They want the actual A.J. Brown. The Titans are willing to take that chance because of the financials, which fans like you never really want to hear about the money part of it.
So they got the Walmart version of A.J. Brown is what you're telling me. They got the knockoff. But here's the thing about the Eagles that has me scratching my head a little bit. The Eagles seemed noticeably better when they started running the football. So now they're spending a ton of money on A.J. Brown. How does A.J. Brown change the offense for the Eagles?
It's a great question. And I think just because the Eagles want to run the ball a lot and they're good at doing it, doesn't mean they don't want to try to be able to get big plays in the passing game. Doesn't mean that they don't want to give Jalen Hurts every opportunity this year to show that he's the long-term answer. And now this is kind of a no-excuse year for Jalen Hurts, right? I mean, they got a good tight end in Goddard. You have Devontae Smith. Now you have A.J. Brown, who's fourth in the NFL in yards per route run and yards after the catch the last 3 years. His only 3 years in the NFL. So Jalen Hurts has no excuses, and the Eagles have a great opportunity to see what Hurts can do. Plus, you think about the RPO game and the way the Eagles run the ball. Well, now when they pull it and throw those slants to A.J. Brown, I mean, you know what he does when he takes the slants. I mean, the guy is unbelievable on the move. And so I think the Eagles feel like he fits in perfectly with what they want to do.
We're talking with Ross Tucker. Years in the NFL and offensive lineman with Washington, Dallas, New England, Buffalo, and Cleveland, and host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. What about the other Brown, Hollywood Brown, going to the Cardinals? To me, it seems like the Cards are giving Kyler Murray no excuses. This is his one chance. Not his one chance necessarily, but they're trying to surround him with as many tools as possible to succeed. Do you like this trade for Arizona?
Well, here's the thing that's a little bit of a head-scratcher for me. Think about what the Eagles gave up for A.J. freaking Brown. You know, the 18th pick and 101. Meanwhile, the Cardinals give up the 23rd pick. Now, I know they got the 100th pick coming back, right? But they give up the 23rd pick for Hollywood Brown. I mean, Hollywood Brown, maybe you say it's a different offense or whatever. He hasn't been nearly as consistent or productive as A.J. Brown. However, he does have a similar skill set to Christian Kirk, who the Cardinals lost in free agency. And Kyler Murray has not been happy. And I think that the Cardinals wanted a speed guy opposite DeAndre Hopkins, and they want to make Kyler Murray happy. He and Hollywood Brown were college teammates. I think they feel like this will appease Kyler Murray, at least for the near term, to get his buddy from college who gives him a speed guy.
All right, Ross, let's turn to the second day of the draft. And we still have plenty of good players on the board. And I think the one that everybody's looking at is Malik Willis, still on the board, entering the draft. I think he had the most hype of any quarterback. So where do we expect Malik Willis to end up? Or, you know, players in the second round that you're kind of excited to see where they go?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think Malik Willis is the one that everybody's the most intrigued by. If you look at the top of the draft right now, I don't see any of those teams taking him, although the Seahawks have picks at 40 and 41. I got to imagine they would strongly consider using one of those. The question in my mind is, does someone like Atlanta or Detroit or maybe even New Orleans move up in the second round, move ahead of Seattle to take Malik Willis? I think he's definitely worth taking in the second round. So he's a big one for sure. I think I'm just curious, as much as anything else, to see if and when the Packers take a receiver and who it is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all six receivers were off the board by the time, you know, they went to draft. So they took two more defensive guys from Georgia. So really curious about the Packers and receiver. We'll see where the next Georgia defensive player, Nakobe Dean, goes. Always curious about an injury guy like David Ojabo, who would have been a top 15 pick, but tore his Achilles. Someone will take him early here tonight and feel like they're getting a first-round pick in the second round.
Ross, we got here, but I wanted to ask you before we let you go. I was blown away. I thought the New York Jets did a fantastic job in their draft last night, trading up and just getting every need filled with probably the best player available at their respective spots. Am I wrong there?
No, not at all. I mean, you can make a really strong argument that the Jets got their number one receiver that they wanted in Garrett Wilson. You know, obviously their number one corner in Sauce Gardner. And then I don't know that Jermaine Johnson was their number one defensive end, but there have been a lot of reports in the pre-draft process that the Jets liked him enough to take him at 4 or 10. Now, obviously that wasn't the case. And obviously there's something about him the teams didn't like. But the fact that the Jets get a guy at 26 that a lot of people thought they might take at 4 or 10, I think is awesome if you're the Jets. I mean, those are three premium positions, corner, edge rusher, receiver, that they got all in the first round.
He is Ross Tucker on the Roman guest line, spent 7 years in the NFL, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, a great follow on Twitter as well. Ross, thanks so much for the insight, and don't worry about the lyrics. Just keep singing those songs.
Yeah, listen, it's like dancing. As long as you do it with confidence and conviction, it doesn't really matter because you're only singing or dancing for yourself anyway. Who cares what other people think?
Yeah, until there's a camera phone involved.
Oh, did you see that? Okay, during the next break, you guys need to go to @RossTuckerNFL on Twitter or Instagram. My lawyer took a video of me across the arena at the Elton John concert when I was dancing that Elton John Dua Lipa song.
Yeah.
You guys got to check it out. It's on Instagram and Twitter @RossTuckerNFL. I promise you will laugh the entire commercial break.